In order to set our motivation for the teaching that we're going to hear today, our motivation is to improve ourselves to the ultimate level of becoming a bodhisattva and eventually a Buddha, working for uplifting ourselves and all sentient beings. So that's our motivation for being here today. So we'll start with the refuge and bodhicitta prayer. We'll say it the first time in English and then chant it twice in Tibetan. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by listening to the teachings and other paramitas, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. Sangye Chodan Soki Choknam La Jiangchu Badu Dakni Yapsu Chi Daki Chinyan Gipe Sonam Ki Drola Penchir Sangye Drupar Sho Sangye Chodan Soki Choknam La Jiangchu Badu Dakni Yapsuchi, Daki Chinyan Gipe Sonam Ki, Drola Penshir Sangye Drupar Sho. And having reaffirmed our direction with this marvelous path, we recall all of the sentient beings who will be taking with us on this path to enlightenment. And remember, their difficulties and our own difficulties and our commitment to striving until as long as it takes to remove the obstacles to happiness and its causes. And this is the path that we are choosing or have chosen. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. And may all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment from friends and hatred for enemies. And then we think, may I become other-centered, giving up selfishness and striving endlessly to make these realities come to pass for sentient beings, to be the cause or part of the cause. And then refreshing our visualization that we're surrounded by all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas and our teachers and all the ones striving to achieve this marvelous aspiring goal of becoming a bodhisattva and liberated and a Buddha. Recalling all the beings striving for this very same goal. We remember that they're surrounding us, and in front of us are our particular teachers, and we say the seven limb prayer as a recommitment to the actions that we intend to take in our efforts to serve the teachings, the Dharma, the Mahayana. So we say the seven limb prayer with that in mind. Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every type of offering, actual and mentally transformed. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and I rejoice in the merits of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until samsara ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for sentient beings. I dedicate the merit created by myself and others to the great enlightenment. And so remembering that all these positive actions that we take as we set our motivation, and at the end, we just remember to dedicate any merit that we have accumulated, any positive vibrations, any positive force that is generated by our positive actions. We remember that it is dedicated not for our own good, but for the good of all sentient beings in every realm, uplifting and contributing towards enlightenment and liberation for all. Then we are going to do the mandala offering, remembering that through the teaching, through the Buddha's inspiration, generation after generation have been inspired to this path of serving others, perfecting oneself, so becoming an ever more perfected vehicle to act in the world and in the cosmos as a part of the beautiful, positive reality. And so we envision offering to our teachers, the ones we know in this lifetime and in all lifetimes, offering to all the teachers, all the Buddhas, all the Bodhisattvas, the mandala offering as our visualized intention, what we intend to be part of creating. This is our offering. So as we say these words in English, we are affirming that this is the universe that we are participating in the creation of. This ground, anointed by perfume and strewn with flowers, adorned by Mount Meru, the four continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine it as a Buddha field and offer it. May all beings enjoy this pure land. And we say Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamyurya Tayami, offering this visualized, purified reality that we are helping to create to our lamas, our gurus.
Thank you. I know in the email that I sent yesterday, I said that we would be doing the shamatha practice and then talking about the true truths. However, as I got into this shamatha practice, I realized, oh, it would be much, much better if I got all of the instructions laid out so that they can be referred to later on by all of us as needed. So all of these instructions will be in the study guide as well as on this video and can be referred to later, rather than just doing a spontaneous sort of shamatha meditation and then going into the two truths. What we'll do is we'll start with that next week, and we'll delve into those more difficult topics one chunk at a time, just as Brian was suggesting, because it was clear from last week that this is what we need to do. And it was also really clear to me that we need to add shamatha practice to the other practices that have been initiated already, such as the complete refuge visualization and the 7-limb practice that's part of the transforming our karma visualization. Those represent the first higher training called ethics. The second higher training is called concentration, and that is precisely what shamatha represents. So we're going to spend the time now talking about shamatha and leave room for questions, for discussion, and then for a relatively short shamatha session toward the end, after we've discussed all of this.
If you happen to have heard these kinds of instructions before and this feels repetitive, think to yourself that you have not heard these instructions today. And you're a whole new person today with whole new filters and experiences. And so it's always recommended to listen with a fresh mind and hear what you hear that's different and new for you today, if you've heard any of this before.
I agree with that. Both Kavita and I have been instructed in shamatha by our teachers, particularly Geshe Drakpa. However, nothing compares to delving into it yourself and doing the best job that one can do to try and express it to others. So many things came up that were very clarifying for me. So I hope that will be the same for you. The shamatha, this is a sort of it's abiding in single-pointed concentration is what shamatha is referring to. And this will actually aid in our ability to understand Nagarjuna's teachings, because as we've all seen, the teachings are getting very, very deep and dense, and they're new for our minds, and it requires an ability to concentrate that we perhaps have not yet mustered. And so the shamatha will help quite a bit. The purpose of, also I want to say that these instructions are based on instructions of Samdhong Rinpoche. He's colloquially known as S. Rinpoche. He was a favorite teacher of Lama Pasang's. Also Gen Lamrimpa, who I feel a close connection to Gen Lamrimpa because Geshe Drakpa and Gen Lamrimpa spent years together in, they both had meditation huts in the same area above Dharamsala in the mountain. And they had a chance to get to know one another, talk with one another, become friends. And so Gen Lamrimpa's teachings feel very close to my heart when I read them. We're also going to be getting some teachings from Khentrul Rinpoche, he's part of a new movement called the Rima movement, which Rime, I mean, which encompasses all the various sects of Buddhism and acknowledges them. His Holiness the Dalai Lama is very much like this. He's always talking about there is, one is not better than the other. So this is where Khentrul Rinpoche, where his focus is. Also, Geshe Drakpa Gelek and Venerable Robina Courtin. There are teachings by all of these teachers in this.
Geshe Soepa.
And Geshe Soepa. In all
And
of this.
Geshe Nima, for that matter. He taught meditation here.
Well, Geshe Nima is all of our teachers, so it's goes without saying that Geshe Nima is this inspiration and motivation for all of this that we're doing. Okay.
Incidentally, we have an updated message from yesterday from Geshe Nima about his topics.
Oh, right.
While he's here, which we will be sharing. It's a little different than we had anticipated and quite marvelous.
Okay. First of all, we'll talk about the purpose of shamatha meditation. Shamatha is often called placement meditation. It's one of two general categories of meditation in Buddhism. The other category being vipassana or vipassana, sometimes it's called vipassana, which is special insight. And shamatha is single-pointed concentration or calm abiding on a single object. Shamatha is used to refine the mind and rid it of impurities that contribute to our confusion, our stress, and our overall suffering. On one level, it helps us to develop a very strong and focused mind. That is on another level, that strong and focused mind is going to help with us becoming more balanced, calm, and peaceful. And then on another level, a deeper level, it helps us develop these two things to become more balanced, calm, and peaceful, and to develop a very strong and focused mind. According to Buddhism, when these two aspects of the mind, balance, calm, and a very strong focus, are brought together, along with the development of compassion and letting go of attachment to our worldly interests, they have the potential to lead us to the awakening of our own enlightened nature. Samdhong Rinpoche, who I mentioned was one of Lama Pasang's favorite teachers, Lama Pasang called him S. Rinpoche. He tells us that the ordinary mind is usually fragmented and divided. full of thoughts and illusions. In this condition, concentration is absolutely impossible for us. In order for us to look inward, so we come to know our inner selves better, the mind must be trained in concentration. The very first step in meditation, then, is to train the mind to concentrate on one point, one object, for a definite period of time. We do this in order to overcome the limitations of our present mind, which can neither concentrate fully on one object nor remain concentrated for even a little while, I think, as we all well know. This is especially true in our current world of personal devices that can put global communication and information at our fingertips, information that is both useful and useless, interesting, distracting, and addictive. More than ever before, our minds and bodies are continually trying to do several things at the same time. With shamatha meditation, what we do is we train our mind to concentrate on one point without being distracted or disturbed. Shamatha meditation works directly with the mental consciousness, which is non-physical in nature. According to Khentrul Rinpoche, the Rime master, mental consciousness has the potential to be refined to an infinite degree of subtlety. He says meditation is like a powerful electron microscope that enables practitioners to look deep within their own experience. This is very much like what Brian Bales was talking about. He may have been talking about Khentrul Rinpoche. I'm not sure who it was that he mentioned, but he said his teacher was saying shamatha is like developing a very powerful, stable microscope. And then once we have that concentration very, very stable, then we use vipassana. Then we use special insight. We use the wisdom teachings and focus on them and really begin to be able to plumb the depths of what they mean. So this is the point of the shamathas, like we're creating this very powerful microscope, like Khentrul Rinpoche saying, electron microscope.
That is not Brian Bales.
No, I don't know, but it was similar to what Brian Bales was saying. His teacher said a microscope, and so was Khentrul Rinpoche. He's saying a microscope. It enables us to look deep within our own experience and to gather valuable insights into the nature of our own reality. Shamatha is a technique that originates in ancient Hinduism, and it was spoken of and used by the Buddha. I think I mentioned this several sessions ago. There's an actual sutra where he talks about the combination of shamatha and vipassana, the combining of these two as the method that he uses. It's designed to develop a very focused and flexible mind known as single-pointed concentration. The essence of this practice is to train the mind to bring its full attention to a chosen object for as long as the meditator desires. That is the essence of the practice. It's like developing a laser-like consciousness that can be used to make extremely precise observations about the mind. The name shamatha, which literally means calm abiding, is also used to describe the resulting state of mind that is produced by this meditation technique. As we gradually progress in this practice, our gross mind becomes dormant, revealing increasingly subtle levels of mind. Khentrul Rinpoche likens this process to a diver descending past the turbulence of the water's surface to rest in the calm, unmoving depth of the ocean. To achieve shamatha, the meditator rests their awareness in this foundational consciousness free of distraction. It is a state that is characterized as being blissful, still, and extremely vivid. The other teachers also mentioned that there's with practice and an experienced shamatha meditator develops these what they call pliancy within the body and the mind, and this pliancy generates how they describe it as incredible bliss throughout the body in terms of the body's energy, the prana that flows through the channels, which is why when we get into the posture is extremely important when we're doing this so that the energy can flow freely. But as you get deeper and deeper into this meditation, all of the meditators say that we experience more and more subtle and blissful states, both mentally or consciously and physically, because the prana is directly connected to the breath, the breath is directly connected to the body. So everything is connected. And as we do this and become more proficient at it, our pliancy, they say, becomes more and more subtle and blissful. So any questions about what that is, the purpose of shamatha? Any discussion on the purpose of shamatha? I mean, I want to take the time so that if there's any confusion or questions that it can be discussed. So if something comes up as we go along, please, pop in and raise your hand or just shout it out.
Am I recalling correctly? So would it be accurate to say that achieving single-pointed concentration through this meditation exercise, that when you actually achieve it finally, that ability is necessarily required to realize emptiness?
Oh, yes. Absolutely, they say this. We need the two together. We need shamatha and vipassana, which we'll be going into vipassana in another section and in another session and how the two are combined. But right now, it is suggested that we focus on shamatha first as the stable basis, that microscope.
I'm just pointing out that
yeah, it's absolutely
our motivation. And then so just say simplistically, it would be true to say that since single point of concentration is necessary to realize emptiness, and realizing emptiness is necessary to achieve liberation, that you could then connect those two, that single point of concentration is a required skill in order to achieve liberation and subsequently.
I want to remind everybody that these three higher trainings are the method to achieve liberation from the suffering of cyclic existence. That's what the three higher trainings are the method for. So then all of them are absolutely necessary. The first, as I said before, is ethics. We've already begun with that. And many of us are practicing this every day, and it's becoming more and more familiar in our minds, and ethical discipline is it's getting stronger and stronger as we practice. The next one is concentration, and that is referring to shamatha combined with vipassana. Vipassana is also the third higher training is wisdom, and this is referring to the special insight that through single-pointed concentration can have a direct realization of emptiness. This is what wisdom is always pointing to, the direct understanding of the nature, the ultimate nature of reality. And we've talked a lot about that. So obviously, conceptually, we need to know about these things ahead of time. It's not as if conceptuality is a villain or a bad thing. We have to use our conceptual thinking to even be able to comprehend what the teachers are talking about, what the Buddha is trying to say. But at a certain point, especially when we're talking about shamatha, we get beyond conception. We move beyond. Like Khentrul Rinpoche, the diver goes away from the turbulence of the water and goes deep into the depths. We go deep into the depths of what our consciousness actually is. And this is where we're now into the second higher training of concentration. So now we'll go over the basic structure of the meditation practice. And all formal meditation practices use a similar structure that uses these 4 components. So the first component is that we calm our body, speech, and mind. And there are methods that we use to do this. The second is that we maintain awareness of the object of our meditation. So first of all, we calm our mind, body, and speech. We maintain an awareness on the object that we have chosen for our meditation. The third step, or the third component, is that we always inspect our mind for distractions that are occurring, that are pulling us away from the focus on the object of our meditation. And then the fourth component is then we adjust. We adjust those distractions with antidotes to those distractions, and we return the mind gently back to the object of meditation. And so this process with these 4 components of calming the mind, awareness of the object, inspecting for distractions, and then adjusting those distractions with antidotes that bring you back to the object of awareness. This is part of the structure of Shamatha meditation. It's also part of the structure of all meditation practices. So whatever object is chosen, there are 2 basic abilities that we use to train the quality of the mind. The first one is mindfulness, and the second one is introspection. So we'll talk about those, mindfulness and introspection, these 2 basic qualities that we use to train our mind, or 2 basic abilities, I should say, that we use to train the quality of our mind. Mindfulness is referring to our ability to remember what we are intending to do. We can do this, but we'll have a lot of distractions, as I said. And we're not practiced in this. So mindfulness, this ability to remember what we are intending to do, is extremely important. When we're mindful in any situation, we are fully engaged with the object of our awareness. And this is never more important than in a meditation practice such as shamatha. It's important in everything. It's important in our conversations and relationships with people. We be there right then and are mindful of our interaction or awareness of them. So that's mindfulness. It's the opposite of being distracted. And I think all we have to do is sort of think about our own daily levels of distraction to see how ubiquitous distraction is in our lives. The second one is introspection. Introspection is the ability we have to be aware of what is presently happening in the mind. Almost like a security guard that's able to check up and make sure that we aren't being carried away by the excitation of some distracting thought, or sinking into a loose or lax state of mind that can lead to lack of clarity, vagueness, and drowsiness. And I think we're all familiar with that too. We can very easily become distracted by something, excited by something, drawn away from something else that may be important because something else is just getting our attention. And we all know the experience of sitting or listening to something, or maybe watching TV or a movie, and we just sort of lose the plot. We sort of get a little vague, and then we just go like that. It can happen anywhere. It happens all the time. We just sort of check out. And we have the ability to keep both of those from happening. We have the ability to stay mindful, and we have the ability to have this introspection that watches to see if we're being distracted, going off into some kind of attachment thing, or just being distracted in a way that we're just shutting down. We're just getting loose and lax. So that's mindfulness and introspection, very important to functions that we use in shamatha meditation.
Geshe Drakpa would always say that just paying attention in class was good concentration practice.
Oh, and we know how hard that is. Oh my
I know.
God.
I mean,
Yeah.
I myself have
Me too.
gotten bored and picked up my phone and checked messages in the
Everybody
middle of
does.
class. I'm not doing it anymore.
Right.
As of today, I've stopped. I'm stopping that. But
listen, I can be listening to His Holiness the Dalai Lama and just sort of going, thinking just I'm off somewhere else. So it's not so much, I mean, the teacher has an effect for sure. It's not so much the teacher, but we need to take responsibility for our own mindfulness, our own introspection. And this comes down to our motivation. Why are we doing this? Why are we engaging in this? Why is this important to us? And definitely will get to the motivation for this. It makes all the difference. It makes all the difference. It's particularly in shamatha, where it seems like, oh my God, I'm just focusing on this one thing. Why?
one thing that I've recently felt more clearly is the sense of pervasive renunciation about being myself, my habitual thought patterns being trapped in cyclic existence. And so listening to the teachings, it's kind of like we've talked about, Steve McQueen and The Great Escape. I'm listening, and oh, here it is, Christopher again, on a topic I've heard about a lot of times, but maybe today I'll hear something that might help me escape. So there's the more renunciation you have, in other words, the more likely you are to listen at the edge of your seat in case there's some new little something that triggers advancement for you in your thinking. That's just been my experience.
What I will say is 99.999% of what I'm saying here is all coming from these other teachers. Some of it's directly from the other teachers, rather than just my putting it into my own words. So I'll try to be.
I'm just saying, the reason I interrupt is just to listening as if there's something that I maybe have missed before, some subtle point.
True.
That I've not thought was important, that suddenly I go, oh, shoot.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely, in looking at all this information, all these teachings, I go, I could see that for myself. And it definitely is changing. I've been practicing shamatha now every day since we decided to fold this into our practices that we're doing as a group. And I've seen the development almost daily of a deepening of it, even a desire to do it, because I'm feeling the value of it. So I hope this will transfer to all of you. So as these two abilities, this mindfulness, paying attention to what we're doing, and introspection, looking out for when we become distracted or lax, they gradually become stronger with the practice, and our mind, our consciousness becomes increasingly more refined. This is the word they use, refined. There are 3 specific qualities which characterize this refined state of mind. These qualities are called relaxation, stability, and vividness. And we'll just quickly describe these 3 qualities of mind qualities that characterize a refined state of mind. Relaxation. With relaxation, the body learns to let go of all its habitual tensions. This results in a blissful feeling of spaciousness and ease. So as the body lets go of our habitual you know, things that distract us because of our body, a sense of spaciousness starts to occur within the body itself, and a sense of ease. So that's relaxation. The second quality of the refined state of mind is stability. By repeatedly applying mindfulness, in other words, by repeatedly applying the engagement in the object of your meditation, the object of your concentration, the mind becomes absorbed into the object. And we get in the flow. Many times, artists and musicians, writers, creative people will talk about, oh, wow, I'm in the flow. I got in the flow. That is because, and anybody who's an artist, a musician, or a writer knows this experience. When they get into the flow, you become so absorbed in the object of what you're doing, whether it's music, composing music, writing a novel, whatever it may be. You become so absorbed in it that you feel all of a sudden you're in this flow where just everything seems to be going great. It's working. You're in the flow. This is what stability is talking about in the practice, that you get in the flow. You're totally focused on what you're doing with no distractions. And then the third quality, which characterizes a refined state of mind, is vividness. Vividness means that through cultivating introspection, which is that little security guard that's looking out for all the distractions that are keep pulling you away from your mindfulness towards the object, by cultivating introspection, what we do is we achieve a heightened awareness of what is happening in our mind. We are aware of it all. This awareness enables us to pick up on more and more aspects of the object. Khentrul Rinpoche says it's like watching high definition TV, and as opposed to regular low definition TV. All of a sudden you're seeing, it's so vivid. You're seeing so much more. We've all had that experience. We know what it was like, or it has been like, to watch a low resolution video. But when you see a high resolution video, all of a sudden you're seeing so many things that you never noticed before. You're becoming aware of everything about it. And it can, in many cases, it's quite beautiful, this vividness that you're becoming aware of. And this is the quality that occurs in a refined mind, in a refined state of mind. So those are those qualities: relaxation, stability, vividness. These are all going to be in the for posterity in the study guide, and they're also in this video. So whenever you feel like you need to refer to them, because we won't be going in this detail again, we'll just be going directly into the meditation practices and then focusing on a particular rough, tough topic, such as the two truths. All right, now, any questions about any of those? Is that clear enough? I mean, it's not perfectly clear because we haven't achieved a refined state of mind, but I think we get the idea, yeah? Okay. Now we're going to talk about beginning the meditation practice of shamatha. I forget who it was who said this. I think it was Lamrimpa. When we're just starting, it's really important not to overcomplicate things. Meditation is actually a very simple process. The key to it is to give ourselves the chance to actually benefit from this simple process. First, what we have to do is we need to create a space in our very busy schedules. As we all know, we all have very busy schedules these days for all the reasons we know. So we have to create a space in that schedule so that we can begin to familiarize ourselves with these techniques. We need to take a really honest look at our daily habits before we start making excuses for why we can't meditate. And we've all done this. I've done this. Kavita's done this. I'm sure even the monks have done this. I think Lama Pasang has talked about it. So it's not uncommon. We're all always making excuses. What we don't seem to get is that this kind of meditation is actually the key to our happiness. And until we actually can practice a little and begin to realize that, we are going to find all kinds of reasons why, I really can't do that today. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it later. So, so we need to think, what are our priorities? What are the benefits of surfing the internet? What are the benefits of watching movies on TV? What are the benefits of engaging in sports and physical activities? What are the benefits of playing games? What are the benefits of reading novels or listening to music? For sure, all of these have many benefits. They do. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what we need to think is, are there any opportunities in our daily schedule for 10, 15, or 30 minutes of time that we could dedicate to developing our mind in this way, through this meditation practice? Could we perhaps wake up 15 or 30 minutes earlier than usual in order to develop a greater overall balance and stability in our life? And I know it seems like with these practices, it keeps adding on more and more and more and more time. If you've gone through the refuge visualization, well, that thing, if you actually listen to the thing and go through it, it takes like about an hour. If you go through the 7-limb practice audio, it takes about half an hour. However, if you have familiarized yourself with those, and it doesn't take that long to familiarize yourself with those, you can do that without the audio, without the text, without anything, and you can really truncate the time by quickly going through these, so that
in the text that we started with years ago, it said you can do all that in the time it takes to
mount a horse.
Yeah. For a couple of minutes. And I can say that
It's true.
That once it's sort of like practicing golf or archery or anything, throwing darts, anything that requires precision. It takes a lot of practice, but once your eye-hand coordination gets to a certain point, you can just pick up a dart and do it. And similarly, once you have trained yourself with the sequence of thoughts, say, for example, in developing refuge, I have found that, I've got now a pretty big backlog of all the reasons why I'm taking refuge and everything that's involved in that.
Yeah.
And I'd say, this is sort of key too, in terms of prioritizing. My refuge taking now takes less time, but is way more authentic than my refuge taking was 20 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you.
So, it's kind of a weird thing. It's sort of like the better you get, the more efficient you are. I'm just going to share a trick that I use. Do I want to watch Downton Abbey, or do I want to become liberated and enlightened?
Which am I more familiar with?
Which do I really need to do? Which will give me the, and that's not to say we don't, like I say, we don't, you have to find a balance, but we know each individually, there are times when it's like,
Yeah. So the point being is, you start with ethics first. You get a firm foundation in the process of these practices that they're talking about, the refuge practice, the 7-limb practice. You become familiarized with that. And you develop your ethics this way. But we're also in that we're developing our concentration in some ways. We're developing our wisdom in many ways, because the entire path is sort of contained in those practices. So they form a very stable basis to then move to what we're moving to now, which is concentration. So the more familiar we are with the ethics practices, the less time, as we've been saying, it's going to take. We'll be more efficient with that, and we can spend more time, and we will want to actually, when we get into it, we'll spend more time with the concentration practices, because we will see that they are completely connected, and it's moving toward where we want to be going. So now we get to the point of choosing the object of our meditation, because there are many different objects one can choose.
I think I just want to throw in, you probably will say this, but everything I've read about this from our lineage, they all say it's very personal, and the practitioner needs to choose themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say they don't give recommendations based on.
Yeah, they give recommendations, and
But
given the current state of where we're at in the world, I have my own personal recommendations. So once we've made time for our meditation practice, we begin by choosing an appropriate object of focus. There are many objects of meditation that can be used to suit people with different temperaments and personality types. There are breathing meditations, mental visualizations, mantra meditations, movement meditations, such as walking, analytical meditations, and on they go. Because most of us are prone to excessive thoughts these days, due to the constant bombardment of information, opinions, and distractions that I already mentioned earlier, we are going to be using the natural flow of the breath, because it can be a very effective and fairly easy way to relax and focus the body and mind. It's a very quick way to get into shamatha practice. Once we're familiar, very, very familiar with using the breath in this practice, if you feel that you're more of a very intuitive kind of person, and you would maybe mantra practice would be better for you as a focus. This is when you would take like an om, and you would focus on the om as your object of meditation, something like that. But for now, because all of us are living in a world that is, like I said, bombarding us with distractions all the time, and our heads are filled with all varying kinds of concepts. Some of them are fighting one another. We're going to use the breath, because it's considered a very quick and easy way to calm that conceptual mind down. And it's not as easy as at first, it's not as easy, but I think with the motivation, that will help us quite a bit. The next, after choosing the object of meditation, then we choose the right location for it. They say it's helpful to prepare a location that's conducive to meditation practice. Ideally, it should be quiet, clean, free from clutter, and free from interruptions or distractions. Now, that's not going to be entirely possible all the time, and so we can, in our meditation, we can use some of these distractions as a technique to trigger us back to the object of our focus, rather than be pulled away by the distractions, to actually use them to bring us back to the object of our focus. And I think that's a very, what would the word be? A very skillful way of dealing with distractions in our meditation process. But you want to, hopefully you can get it as quiet as possible. Certain locations can be suitable for different types of meditation. A peaceful environment in nature can help with the development of calm and concentration. So, say you have a room with a window and it's looking out into a forest. Well, that can be very helpful to the mind, to calm that mind down. a place with a vast open view. Say you have a window that looks out at the sky and the mountains, or looks out at the ocean, or looks out at a big lake or something like that, with a vast view. That can be very effective for cultivating insight, special insight. So, as each of us move along in our practice, we can make those decisions for ourselves, but we'll all start out with basically the same object of meditation. We're all going to basically be sitting in a room somewhere, Now we're going to go into the posture, and the postures, according to Buddhism, this particular posture is very important. It's called the 7-point posture of Virochana. Just as our mind can have significant effects on our body also can have a strong effect on our mind. It's important that we establish a physical posture that is conducive to developing a stable mind. During meditation, our posture should allow us to be relaxed and comfortable while maintaining a state that is both alert and aware. So we want to be relaxed, we want to be comfortable, we want to be alert, not drowsy, sleepy, and we want to be very aware, not unfocused. So this is what the posture is helping us to do. When sitting, Khentrul Rinpoche suggests that we use either a comfortable, straight back, padded chair or a meditation cushion. For Buddhist meditation, there's one particular posture that has been proven to be very effective. And each aspect of this one particular posture, the 7-point posture, helps the meditator to control the flow of energy or prana that in the body, which in turn assists in achieving higher states of concentration. The posture consists of the following 7 features, and I'm sure many of you have heard this, but it's not going to hurt to go over it again. The first is the legs. What they call the supreme posture for meditation is the full lotus posture, which has the left foot is resting on, the left foot is resting on the right thigh, and the right foot's resting on the left thigh. There are some people who can do this amazingly easily. I've seen a few of them, and it's astonishing. Usually they're young and they're pretty flexible. It can be a difficult posture to even attempt, let alone maintain. For most of us, we won't be able to do it. Oh, and if we can do it, of course, I tried once again yesterday, and I was able to hold it for maybe 10 seconds without going. So, no, I don't think most of us are going to be able to do that particular full lotus posture, but here's what we can do. A good cross-legged position can provide stable physical balance and also represents a union of method and wisdom. And I want to talk a little bit about this. If you recall in the, for instance, the refuge visualization, and we will say, to the Buddha's left is Manjushri, to the Buddha's right is Chenrezig. So from the Buddhist point of view, to the Buddha's right represents the compassion wing, the wing of extensive deeds, the methods that we use. To the Buddha's left, it represents the wisdom wing, the emptiness, the cultivation of insight. So it can get very confusing when you're picturing yourself looking at the Buddha, and you hear to the Buddha's left, and you want to go, oh, to my left, but it's not. It's to the personal Buddha's left, the personal Buddha's right. And when we're talking about ourselves, it's our left side that represents wisdom. It's our right side that represents the compassion and method wing. So when they're talking about putting your left foot on your right thigh, and your right foot on your left foot on your whatever, they're talking about this union of method and wisdom. So this gets into many aspects of the posture, how we put our hands, how we hold our hands. Our hands are representing the union of wisdom with method, and they are combined, and the thumbs are touching like this. So all of the postures have a symbolic aspect to them, as well as an energetic aspect to them. Equally important to sitting in the appropriate position is to be comfortable. Sitting comfortably will help to decrease distraction, and it will make it much easier for us to relax the body. If sitting cross-legged is too uncomfortable, and it may be, sitting on a comfortable padded chair with your legs relaxed, the knees at right angles, and the feet flat on the floor will work. It doesn't have to be cross-legged. It's more important to be comfortable. You don't want it to hurt the posture that you're getting into. No matter what the position the legs are in, more stability is gained if the buttocks are slightly raised so that the hips tilt forward. Lamrimpa suggests using either like a small pillow, like I got a small pillow here, or he says even a folded towel will do. And you don't put it actually right under your butt so that you're sitting on it. You put it right at sort of the base of where the spine meets the butt, so that the idea is that you want your spine to be as straight as possible, and so you want to have that support. You don't want your butt sinking back like this so that your spine is curved at the base. You want it to be raised somewhat. I've got to get it back. The burp was good. Okay. So Genlan Rinpoche's instruction is to not sit directly on the support, the pillow or the towel, but to just nudge it right up to the base of the spine, and this will help to keep the bottom of the spine perfectly erect. So that's the legs. The second one is the hands. The hands should rest gently in the lap, with the right hand. This is my right hand. I know it looks like, maybe it looks like the right hand.
It does look your right.
Okay, with my hand in the left. So like this. And then the two thumbs are touched slightly, and this is held a little below the navel, a little below the navel. The position of the hands is an expression of the unification of method and wisdom. Genlam Rinpoche instructs that the hands should be very, very relaxed. In general, a sense of relaxation should be felt from the shoulders to the wrists and down to the hands, allowing any tension in the upper body to be released. And it might be helpful if we could be practicing this as I say it, so that you get, because we're actually going to do this meditation when I get through with all of this. So if it is possible for you to in any way work with this posture now, this would be a good time to practice it and get the sense of it. The next is the back. The third is the back. And the point is to keep the spine straight. The body should be held upright, like an arrow, or they'll say a pile of golden coins stacked one on top of the other. So you want to keep them perfectly balanced and upright. Normally, there's a slight curve in the upper back. In meditation, we try to straighten the curve out. A straight back helps the mind to stay alert and attentive. It also has an enormous effect on the inner winds, or the prana, which are the subtle movements of energy that circulate within the body and mind. These winds are closely related to the breath. Okay, we go now to the fourth part of the posture. The shoulders and the elbows are drawn back and slightly away from the body. So the elbows are drawn slightly back. The shoulders are slightly back and the elbows are slightly away from the body. The shoulders should be drawn back a little and slightly curved, so that you're not doing this with your shoulders at all, but you're letting them relaxed, but they're a little bit back. And evenly placed on either side of the body. This helps this helps to expand, for the lungs to expand correctly, and aids in breathing during meditation. The elbows should remain a little away from the body. According to Lamrimpa, there's a tendency to elevate the shoulders. Don't, he says, let them relax and drop down. The fifth part of the 7-point posture is the head and the neck, with the chin slightly lowered. The head should be straight and centered, not too high and not bent down too low. Keep the chin slightly tucked in and the nose held in line with the navel. Try not to bend the neck sideways or backwards. The next, number 6, is the mouth. The face is relaxed and the tip of the tongue touches the upper palate. The teeth and lips should be held in a natural position with the teeth barely touching. Keep the face, jaw, and lips soft and relaxed. This will prevent excessive swallowing. Let the tongue rest gently against the upper palate behind the upper teeth. This position helps keep the saliva in the mouth when the mind becomes stable and there is a tendency to drool. If the mind is agitated and it's difficult to achieve a calm state, placing the tongue behind the bottom teeth can aid in loosening and calming the mind. That's something new to me, the bottom teeth, if the mind is too agitated. And finally, the 7th one is the eyes, gazing past the tip of the nose. The eyes should not be open too wide, nor should they be completely closed. Samdhong Rinpoche says that closing the eyes does not help one to concentrate better. If they are too widely opened, the mind may become easily distracted, and if completely closed, the mind can become foggy and dull. Again, Lamrimpa says the eyes should be slightly open, gazing past the tip of the nose. If the position of the head is correct, the eyes will then focus gently and unforced on the floor about 3 feet in front of you. So any questions about any of that with the posture? Okay, I think some of us are pretty familiar with that posture, but it's good to go over. Now in general, Genlam Rinpoche says, don't let your posture become too tight. He says, let the body be very relaxed, very natural. If you get tight in certain areas, take a deep breath and then exhale the tension with the next out breath. So in order to prepare for Shamatha meditation, Genlam Rinpoche says the preliminary practices of full refuge and transforming our karma with the seven limb practice, those two suffice as preparations for the actual practice of shamatha. And these preliminary practices are partially outlined in our opening and closing prayers that one could even went through. That's outlining what the refuge visualization is saying, what the 7 limb practice is saying. So if we've done these practices, these prayers can be a quick way of going through that.
Just as a point of reference, I recently asked Geshe Nyingma for some suggestions about my own meditation practice. and he, two things came out recently, which was early in the morning, the mind is more subtle and naturally calm. So that's a beneficial time to work on this practice if you're able to do that. And he means early. And then the other thing was, he said, just do refuge and the seven limb. You sort of want to have in mind, of course, your motivation is the primary thing and bodhicitta, but in terms of a formula, once you take the sitting posture, refresh your refuge, do a seven limb practice of some sort, and then go into the meditation practice itself. That's his recommendation for us, those of us who consider ourselves Buddhists.
So now we're going to talk and do an introductory breathing practice. Sitting in the proper posture, we begin shamatha meditation by engaging in an introductory breathing practice. Following the breath in and out, we count 21 breath cycles. Most important is to see how much of the conceptual mind has been quieted using this technique. Geshe Thubten Soepa, who many of us remember, his method for counting 21 breaths, introductory breaths, is as follows. And we will use this one. With each full breath in and out, counting as one breath, that's one, mentally count 10 breaths forward from 1 to 10. Got that? After the 10th full breath is completed, mentally count 10 full breaths backwards from 10 to 1.
To 0.
Then the final breath is 0. So 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 1, and the final breath, full breath, is 0. 5, the whole, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just do that. Check your posture. Mm-hmm. And begin counting 10.
So there's something I really like about Geshe Sopa's method for this, because when I get to zero, I feel just this spaciousness. I picture the zero and I just feel a spaciousness come over my body, which is wonderful. And that may be why he did it that way. Genlam Rinpoche says that if after the point of this exercise is to calm our conceptual mind, calm all the distractions in our mind. So by focusing on the breath and focusing on the counting, that's the purpose. Genlam Rinpoche says if after 7 breaths, if we've done this enough, if after just 7 breaths we feel like our conceptual mind is calmed, then we can stop there. It really depends on where we're at. I really like getting to that 0, so I could leave out some of the other numbers and just get to the 0 if my conceptual mind is
start with 0.
Yeah, just stay in the 0, right? Anyway, I like his technique a lot.
As a aside, you may be going to cover this, that all of the teachers and all these resources all recommend, regardless of your overall object that you're intending to use for single pointed, that this breath exercise at the beginning of your session is recommended, regardless of what your object is.
Yeah.
Even if it's your breath, it seems redundant, but you're doing this preliminary breathing and then using your breath. Or in my case, I'm using the image of a Buddha, so I do the breathing. Then I have a particular way that I make the transition.
Yeah, the point is to calm down all of the conceptual distractions in the mind. Okay, now we set the motivation for the shamatha practices. This is extremely important. What we do now is, we've gone through the 10 breaths, and then what we do is we cultivate the altruistic intention of bodhicitta, the awakened heart and mind, as the basis of motivation at the beginning of each shamatha meditation session. Genlam Rinpoche stresses the importance of a pure motivation. He says, whether or not one's practice is effective in leading toward the attainment of full awakening depends on the foundation of pure motivation. That is why the cultivation of motivation is so strongly emphasized. The important thing is not that one actually cultivates fully perfected bodhicitta or fully perfected loving kindness. Even an approximation of bodhicitta or loving kindness for the benefit of all beings will accrue great merit. That great merit will then act as a very favorable circumstance and be helpful in the cultivation of shamatha. Insofar as we can cultivate loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta focused on all sentient beings, then, just as the number of all beings is limitless and as vast as space, so then do we acquire merit corresponding to their vastness. On the other hand, if we engage even in very deep practices without that foundation of motivation, the merit accrued is comparatively very little. The essence of the middle way by Baba Viveka tells us to cultivate altruism over an extended period of time. Even if one does not have a great sense of it to begin with, the very act of cultivation, that very concern for the welfare of others, is itself a service to others. And that's a quote from Geshe Lamrimpa. So as we, here's what we do. As we maintain the awareness of the flow of the breath, think to yourself something along these lines. I will engage in this meditation practice in order to awaken the full potential of my heart and mind, so I may benefit all beings with whom I am connected in interdependent relationship. May they be free from suffering. May they attain complete happiness and the immeasurable joy of enlightenment. Then merge this motivation with the in and out flow of the breath. So now what we do is we focus on the breath. And initially, it will be helpful to set a relatively short period of time for this practice, maybe 10 minutes or so. We'll see what we can do today. Yeah, we'll do even less today. I'll set it for 5, just so we have the experience of it.
I also recommend setting a timer. This is after years of trying this. If you set a timer, there's a way it relaxes the mind so that you feel like this protected, say, 20 minutes.
True.
And when distracting thoughts come up, you just can think really quickly. Well, after the timer rings, I can think about that. So it helps preserve the space to do the practice by setting a timer.
Okay. So here we go. Make a mental scan of your posture once again and adjust it if needed. Focus now on the natural flow of your breath. There are a number of ways to do this. One of the ways that helps in maintaining focus is taught by Venerable Robina Courtin. And this is how she puts it. Place your awareness at the exact point where the breath enters and exits the nostrils, and continuously maintain single-pointed concentration there. When you notice any external or internal distractions arising, make those distractions part of your practice by using them as helpful triggers that remind you of your motivation, and again, merge the altruistic intention of bodhicitta with the in and out flow of the breath. Repeat this process as needed until the completion of the meditation session.
Okay. That's 5 minutes. I think this gives us a sense of what shamatha is. There are many reasons why I love the point of focus that Robina suggests. But we can try other ways in the future with different techniques of what we're
They do
trying to
say
achieve.
to experiment yourself with
Yeah.
different objects. If you,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna interrupt you, like I use this, Tracy and Brian went to Bodh Gaya, this is the Buddha from Bodh Gaya. Geshe Nima, when I was corresponding with him, he said, and I read this many times in all the books. If, for Buddhists, there may be some good reasons to choose an image of the Buddha. Anyway, just start where you are and do what you do.
But even if you have a Buddha image, you merge that mental image with the breath.
You have to, yeah.
And so
And
it keeps,
bodhicitta
and
has
yeah,
to be.
and bodhicitta.
All of it, but
I really like a lot that technique of any distraction that occurs. You take that rather than something pulling you away from your meditation. You take that distraction as a reminder of your motivation, why you're doing this, and you put that motivation back with the breath, and it helps. I mean, it feels like you're growing this altruistic motivation with this practice of focusing on the object of the breath. So our ability to do this, to focus, and as our ability to focus and our motivation will strengthen, we'll naturally begin to engage in longer sessions. This week, there have been times where I don't even know how long I went. I mean, maybe it was an hour or so. I don't know, but I wasn't worrying about it. Kavita mentioned earlier that Geshe Nima said to do this as early as possible when you wake up, because that's when the mind is most subtle. So you can really take advantage of that subtlety, especially if it's like 4 a.m. or something. The world isn't really awake yet, and you can very easily spend a long time with meditation.
I used to repeat something.
I want to do a dedication
Sure.
before we close, and this is Lamrimpa's dedication. This is this actual dedication that he gave after one of his teachings on shamatha. And it's very important at the end of any practice like this that we dedicate the merit. So I'm going to read this dedication by Gen Lamrimpa. Now I ask you to join me in dedicating the merits of the giving as well as receiving of the teachings to our attainment of full awakening in order to dispel the suffering of innumerable sentient beings who are in a state of grief and unhappiness. With that as our fundamental dedication, let us also dedicate the merits of this shamatha practice for being free of obstacles, that this world may be covered with great meditators, that there may be prosperity and happiness for all sentient beings, and that the Dharma may flourish. Moreover, in that it is extremely profound, meaningful, and pure to dedicate one's merit toward exactly the things to which the Buddhas of the 3 times have dedicated their merit, let us do that now. And let us pray that all of this will be accomplished by the truth of the Triple Gem, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, the truth of ultimate reality, and the power of altruism. Okay. Whoa, it's exactly 12:30. Should we stop, or are there any questions anybody has about this?
So we should stop, but let me ask a question anyways. Actually, there may be 2 questions. So do you guys know in the training of, new monks and young monks, when they actually start to teach shamatha to them? You know, is it 2 years, 4 years, 7 years, 8?
We were
That's
just
interesting,
wondering.
Brian, because just this morning I was wondering the exact same thing.
We have a feeling it depends on the monk.
And yeah, that was there.
So no, we don't know.
I don't know. It may be regimented, but it may be that the monks who are in charge of the particular group of kids will will be able to ascertain, oh, this particular young one really has some potential
We don't
for
know.
meditation. But I don't know. We should ask Geshe Nima, find out.
The other question I was thinking about, it's a little bit more esoteric, but you know, the way our mind works is to change from topic to topic to topic to topic. We just seem to do that. And it would be interesting to know, and some people may know, and some neuroscientists may know, and some Buddhist teachers may know, you know, when does that version of the mind and that way the mind acts come into being? That's number one. And secondly, as we talk about, you know, being reincarnated, moving consciousness from one lifetime to another lifetime, habituations, karmic predispositions, etc., I wonder how much those impact the way a mind functions from one lifetime to another, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Well, I'm sure it impacts quite a bit because these are all imprints that are sort of put onto our continuum of consciousness. And of course, consciousness is not the body itself. Consciousness works intimately with the body when it enters a body. But according to Buddhism, consciousness is just this clear awareness, and these imprints of habitual patterns are sort of put onto the consciousness. So that they say that would go, the really strong ones will be carried from lifetime to lifetime, and the habitual ones that we engage in now will be the ones that will carry with us. In terms of this constant conceptual mind, this busy conceptual mind going all the time, my based on the teachings that are given, my guess, my assumption, my feeling would be that it has to do with this beginningless, what they call grasping. This, they say there's not a beginning we can find for that ego grasping. And so once we are engaged in that, then our conceptual mind is looking at everything as if it's some inherent thing that we can either grasp at, or we need to push away from, or we feel neutral about. And the concepts themselves are almost as like, we treat them as almost like they're these inherently existing things. And so what we're trying to do is get below that, all that noise on the surface, and get down to a much deeper level of the mind itself, the consciousness itself, and how it abides. And that's what the process of shamatha is about. And when we can get to a stable level of that, then we take these very profound and sometimes esoteric seeming concepts, and we sort of put them under the microscope of this very clear mind. And it enables us to have gain an insight into that without all the concepts going all over the place all the time. But this, but that, but no, but you know, this is what is just this natural state. So we have to try and train ourselves to wean away from that kind of busy mind. And that's why we do shamatha.
So we're basically fighting, I shouldn't say fighting, but we're basically fighting against beginningless lifetimes of the mind working in this way and changing the way how the mind works.
Yes,
You know, we
yes.
have some lifetimes where you developed better concentration, so it could be a mixed bag of propensities.
Yeah, I would suggest the fact that we're even drawn to this kind of information in this practice means that there's something, some propensity within our mental continuum that has saying, this looks good to me. I want to do this. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing it, you know? So there must be something we have, some habit that we have started already in order for us to even be interested in this. Yeah. But we can ask qualified monks next time we talk to them.
Well, yeah, I'll just say, from my perspective, the kind of the conventional reality requires a certain level of vigilance, and that means attentiveness to lots of, events and concepts, and that you have to develop a safe place like a monastery to really be able to practice, prolonged shamatha. Although I heard a story once that some of the Thai monasteries, that when they develop enough concentration, that they'll go sit in a tree and wait for lions and tigers or whatever to come and attack them. But because they're at peace, they don't draw any, or they don't give off any fear sense that attract wild animals. But I'm not trying that one yet.
No, I wouldn't try that yet myself either. What many of the monks will do when they get to a certain level of shamatha, and lay people as well, they will go into retreats. For instance, what I read, the dedication that Lamrimpa wrote was from a several month or more, I don't know, retreat that he did with a group of.
It was, they had a bunch of students, and it was here in the US, and it was a year long, but different students opted in for 3 months or 5 months or
Right.
a whole year.
So that's a long retreat that they were all going through. And that's something that people can do. But the on a daily basis, we should try and to create our own little, safe space, our own little retreat place within our home, within a room, with something like that.
Why don't you
And-
put a link in to the book, the Garland?
Yeah, I'll put a link for all of the books actually
in
in the study guide. Yeah.
Well, I enjoyed this. It was nice to do this together.
Great.
Here's a nice message from Geshe Mima regarding his upcoming topic. He said, I am thinking about my visit in the upcoming months. Shoot, where did it go? Oh, I'm sorry, it's not here, it's here. It's kind of interesting what he's suggesting or doing. We responded, of course, since he's the monk, that we totally trust his gut on what would be appropriate. I'd like to teach the Lamrim visualization meditation to the students at the center without referring to text. I wish to refresh you with all the paths you have learned so far. I see this as very important. I wish somewhere he said something about, shoot. Oh, well, I lost it.
Well, when you find it.
Oh. I will think in some detail about meditation techniques that all students eagerly love to learn in practical ways. And I'll send you the summary so that you can send it out, blah, blah, but anyway.
Do you know when he's coming?
Yes, he'll be arriving in San Antonio for his teaching residency on January 2nd. And I don't know his departure date. Brian Herman has said it's about 2 weeks. And I don't even know if he has that airfare taken care of yet or not. I really don't know anything about that. But it's about 2 weeks. So those first 2 weeks of January.
He'll probably be going to Minnesota around January 18th, 19th, 20th, something around there. He has to start teaching here on the 22nd.
Okay.
So, and he'll actually be getting to San Antonio. I'm trying to remember the date.
Yeah, I just bought his USA travel, but he won't be here teaching until the 2nd of January.
Yeah, okay.
Right,
Right.
he'll be here for like a day and
Yeah.
then he leaves to go to his.
Houston.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
all right, thank you all.
Thank you.
So next week we'll do shamatha meditation, a short one after the opening prayers, and then we will go into the talking about the two truths. Okay, take care, you all. Talk to you later.
Bye. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Adios, everybody.